From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, this is a Headache Soul production. Welcome to Just the Tip-Sters, America's favorite true crime podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Morgan. With me today is my handsome and talented co-host, Joshua Blister Bevan. Shows up when the hard work is done.
Oh, no.
You're my little blister.
And you're not even kidding, because today I showed up
no, it's totally
20 minutes
fine.
late.
Totally fine.
Oh, no.
You're my little blister.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Just full of pus.
I think it's just water.
Is it? Well, okay.
Yeah, it's just mostly water. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's in one of the spots that is never going to heal.
Yeah, you just have to put a Band-Aid on after it pops, because you're like, this is going to... Yep, that's my little blister. You're my little blister. Okay. Yeah, thanks for showing up.
Thank you.
At all.
Eventually.
Yeah. Even when the hard work's done. Thank you. So if we could ask a favor, if you're enjoying this content, please consider writing a review for us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you stream us. There is so much ridiculous drama in the podcast world, and it's so petty. A podcast has, waged some sort of campaign against me. It's so dumb, leaving stupid, ridiculous reviews and, that are like not spelled correctly. And I feel bad for this person, because I think this person probably somewhere deep down has the best of intentions, but they're just, accusing me of not getting anything right. And, it's just so sad. But if you could.
So counter those.
Yeah. If you are enjoying this, please consider giving us a written review on Apple Podcasts, because that's how people find us. And while I don't put a whole lot of stock in reviews, positive or negative, because I don't know how much people, how much faith people put in that. I think they have to make a decision for themselves that they like a podcast.
Absolutely.
And the people that like us really like us. Yeah. And the people that don't typically just keep going, like scroll on by, find another podcast. I am not for everybody. I get it. But there's no reason. Yeah, no kidding, blister. But there's just no reason for this person. I'm going to put it down to youth and, hilariously, a couple of friends have said, she's just trying to like ride your coattails. I'm like, baby doll, I ain't got no coattails for her to ride. Yeah. But, she's not going to get any bump in listenership from shit talking me. That's just really ridiculous. And if it were any bit legitimate, I would try and answer it or work on something I need to work on. But her accusations are baseless. Right. So it's just, yeah.
I know you would, because that's the kind of person you are. You would.
Yeah, I would take things seriously that someone says if I've done something wrong, put out wrong information. And look, we all make mistakes.
Absolutely.
But I try so hard to not do that.
Yeah. No, I know you would look at it hard, and
I would.
If you found it, you would retract.
I would
change.
Absolutely. And there's absolutely nothing to retract. Everything I said was out there, and so we don't need to go over it anymore. But I am mad at myself that May is almost over and it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And, I always try to put, the numbers, and I have a couple of numbers for the text number for you can text or call from your cell phone, and also the a resource hotline number. But, everybody struggles every now and then. And I am, I have been pretty honest. People have private messaged me and said, thank you for being honest with talking about your mental health struggles. And everybody struggles every now and then. And not everyone struggles in the same way. Not everyone needs the same fix or the same help. Not everyone needs to talk to someone, although I like to believe people do, even if it's in the short term, just, something. Not everyone needs, medical help with antidepressants. I know my life is quite a bit different now, and I am grateful. But something that has really helped me is Magic Mind. And they, graciously sent me a box of 15 bottles, and I took them and really fell so in love with them, I became a customer. So I will, be getting another box, because I'm talking about them, but I am absolutely going to be a customer and happy to pay for them. It's, a mental performance shot. They're small little 2-ounce bottles. It's, they call it like an elixir. It's so easy to fold into my routine. It's just this small bottle of, I'm just going to call it magic. And it helps keep me focused and mentally clear, and somehow reduces a lot of the stress that I feel. I will tell you that I've had a couple of friends recently get some difficult diagnoses, and we're all going to be fine, I promise you. But it helped me be balanced. That's my favorite part of it. I was recently told that I am an HSP, which stands for highly sensitive person. I just love all of the initials. Okay. So I'm an HSP, and I can tip over one way or the other pretty quickly. Joshua can tell you, he's seen that. I can, be happy, and then I can be really filled with anxiety quickly. One of the things that I love about Magic Mind is it keeps me balanced and even keeled throughout my whole day. I, have mentioned numerous times I have a couple of autoimmune issues that have made things hard for me kind of physically. And then when I feel bad, physically, it works on me mentally. Right. So I have had my Magic Mind shot every day for 15 days. I'm starting my second box of 15 more, and I will give you a 30-day update, if not before. And it straight from my heart, I'm telling you, I am happy to be a customer, and I feel like this has really helped keep me even keeled through the day. Like I don't have that urge to pass out in the afternoon. And, you don't have to do like I do, take it first thing in the morning and then combine it with your caffeine. It's not a replacement for caffeine. It's more like in addition to whatever your routine is. So I keep it right next to my Mountain Dew Kickstart. I take my Magic Mind shot first thing. I take a swig of Mountain Dew, and then I also take my thyroid meds because they're supposed to be in your body for a while, Oh, okay. And then I walk my bitch ass dog. And then I come back and, my body has had time to assimilate the shot and my thyroid meds. And I'm in love with it.
Excellent.
I'm in love with it. I am also kind of a picky person about flavors, and it's got a slight matcha taste. So Magic Mind was created over a 10-year period with an advisory board of doctors and medical advisors, and they worked together to come up with over 100 different iterations of the elixir. And this isn't a one and done deal for me. It's not like you take one and then you feel better. It's, some of the herbs take, like they say, 4 to 7 days to integrate in your body. Like I said, I've been taking it for 15 days, and I keep feeling and seeing the positive results mentally and physically. So if you want to consider, I'm pretty happy about it. If you want to consider doing something good for yourself that actually has shown me that I can do something to take care of myself and also helps me be there for others, Magic Mind has given us a promo code, Tip-Sters 20, for 20% off and free shipping. And I just want you to remember that you are worth it. This is something that I think is worth it. I wouldn't tell you about it if I didn't believe it. And I sometimes struggle to remember that I'm worth it. But it's, you're worth it. Yeah. You're worth it to take care of yourself. And, if you need further push that it then helps you take care of others, whatever I need to say to you to get you to take care of you, that's what I want to say, because I feel like I'm doing something so good for myself. So the info will be linked in our show notes, and you can go to magicmind.com and find all the information you need. You can read up on them. They'll explain, the adaptogens and nootropics, words that I was unfamiliar with, but I sure am happy I'm familiar with them now.
Cool.
So this case was sent to us by our beloved Suzanne, and
oh, good.
I know Joshua, I can feel Joshua's ass slam shut. Every time I say this one came from Suzanne, he's like, I
love you, Suzanne.
Yeah, he does. I know he loves you, but she is brilliant, and she is a writer for a couple of other podcasts, not, for mine, because I don't have scripts, as you can tell. That's why it sounds so, choppy and unprofessional. But
oh, come on.
I just prefer to talk about a case. But she is, more than anything, a remarkable researcher who finds information about things in ways you can't possibly imagine. Like she, you think you have a good handle on something. She's like, well, did you know this? And I'm like, I did not.
Oh.
And she shows you where she found it. And she's one of those, little like fairies, little internet fairies. And I will tell you, the internet has helped this case in a real amazing roundabout way. And it's a good thing. And they are begging for tips. They're begging for tips. This is a small agency that has recently gotten the FBI involved. Wow. And because they have resources, they don't. And they are saying, if we solve this, it's going to be with help from the community. So like the name of our podcast, Tip-Sters, mobilize. Nice. This is a call to action. I want you to think about this case. This is, I guess, 23 years now. It's 23-year-old cold case in Skidmore, Missouri, the Nodaway County Sheriff's Office. And the reason I'm even doing this is not just because of Suzanne, but because there was a recent development that, I'll read it to you a little later.
Okay.
But Branson Perry was 20 years old in 2001. And it's the strangest story. He was a small young man. He was like 5'9", 155 pounds. But he was apparently very adept at Hapkido. I guess it's like a martial art.
Yeah, sure.
And he was had tried after graduating high school. Beautiful kid. He had tried a couple of jobs and was kind of, in that space in his life when he's trying to figure out what he wants to do. He had tried to go into the military. He was rejected because of tachycardia. He has like a heart arrhythmia.
Arrhythmia. Okay.
And he, I guess, had really, really wanted to be in the military. So that was, I think, a little bit crushing for him. But he was, trying to work it out and was still a loving, happy young man to the best of his ability. His parents had separated and his mother had moved about 20 miles away from Skidmore to a different town. You might remember the name Skidmore because it is unfortunately a tiny, tiny town with a huge reputation for terrible true crime.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Branson's cousin, Bobby Joe Stennett, a few years after he went missing, was murdered in her home because a woman had shown up to look at some terrier puppies that Bobby Joe and her husband had for sale. And she was 8 months pregnant, and the woman cut the baby out of her and killed her.
Oh, no.
And the baby girl survived.
Oh, wow.
But it's a very long, ugly story if you care to know about Bobby Joe Stennett. And it's this small town that's just, there's an awful lot. And a few things relate back to Branson's family because it's a small town and people are related. So Branson was living with his father in Skidmore, and his brother was living with his mother about 20 miles away. It was an amicable divorce. It wasn't like angry. Right. The boys could go back and forth to each parent's house when they wanted.
Sure.
There was no like a custody agreement. It was just, well, I'm going to stay here and Philip is going with mom.
Okay.
Everybody still got along. They all loved each other.
Philip is younger or older?
Younger.
Okay.
His younger brother.
Got it.
So his father had been in the hospital and he was cleaning up his house for his dad to come back home. He had a friend. I've seen her name spelled 17 ways, but apparently it's pronounced Gina. It looks like it's spelled Jenna, but pronounced Gina with a J.
Okay.
Jena. His very good friend Gina had come over to help him clean up the house in preparation for his dad to be released from the hospital.
Okay.
It's Friday afternoon, and they are working around the house, straightening stuff up because he's been, on his own for a while his dad was in the hospital.
All right.
And 20-year-old bachelor.
Sure.
There are so many layers to this. I'm going to try to remember to get to everything and get the timeline to the best of my ability. Gina was there in the afternoon. helping Branson, and it's a small 2-story house. She was upstairs and he was downstairs, and there were 2 men that Branson had asked to come over and fix his father's alternator on his car.
Okay.
So there's 2 men working on the car. Okay. Now, I will be honest with you, a lot of this is the testimony of Gina, and Branson's mother was unable to really buy into everything Gina said. She felt like, I don't think she thinks Gina had anything to do with Branson's disappearance, but I think she thought there were details that didn't add up.
Oh, okay.
So Gina's statement is that Branson said, I'm going to take these jumper cables and I'm going to put them outside in the shed. Now, when you say in the shed in a small, rural town, you think it means in your backyard. The shed was actually kind of next door on an adjacent lot.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't too far away, but it wasn't like me going to my fence.
Okay, so it's common to own multiple lots, and
yes,
and you have a shed on another lot,
and you'll see that Branson's mother sold a piece of property to fund a reward.
Got it.
So yes, there's no fencing. It's very rural.
Got it.
Small town.
Okay.
Depends on what census you read. Anywhere from 500 to 1,000 people.
Oh wow!
Exactly.
Okay.
That's small.
Got it.
And there's just so much crap that went on in Skidmore. It's just got a bad rap. So he, he was wearing shorts and I think maybe shirtless. I'm trying to remember, but it's summer.
Sure. And
he takes the jumper cables. Gina said she looked out the window from the second floor and saw him walking with the jumper cables in his hand.
Okay.
And then he's never heard from again.
Okay.
Never heard from again. Never comes back.
Oh, okay.
It gets really weird from here. The police are on a 6-day delay. His father doesn't get released that Friday or the following day.
Because of complications?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, he's going to stay a couple days longer, but he's going to get up and didn't get released when he thought he was going to.
Okay.
Branson went to see his father daily. Mm-hmm. He had not come to see him. Mm-hmm. Branson's grandmother went to see her son in the hospital and said, hey, has Branson come by today? No, he didn't come by yesterday either. Mm-hmm. She goes to the house. The house is wide open. Windows are up. Music's on. Branson's wallet, keys are on the counter. Branson's gone.
And nobody's there.
Nope. Gina had worked a little bit longer at the house, said she came downstairs and saw one of the men who was supposed to be working on the alternator in the kitchen rifling through drawers. Mm. And she said, what are you looking for? And he said, nothing, and closed the drawer and left. Now, that's her statement. Mm. Okay. She said she thought Branson just got delayed. There's also, stories like, Branson said he was going to take the jumper cables to the shed and then he was going to head out. Now, I don't think he was dressed appropriately. I don't know that he even had shoes on.
And he didn't have his keys.
Didn't have his wallet or keys.
Yeah.
So Gina's statement is kind of confusing. I believe they have polygraphed her and the 2 men,
Well, they do know who the 2 men are.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, yeah. I know one of the men didn't pass a polygraph, one did, and Gina did, and absolutely none of it is, admissible.
Sure.
I think I would fail a polygraph just because I'm an anxiety-ridden, mess.
State your name.
Yes.
Why is the needle jumping?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about Amelia Earhart? No. Is Jimmy Hoffa in your backyard? Absolutely not. I mean, I know it. I know what would happen.
Sure.
I just, so.
But isn't the point, isn't part of the point of that
is to see your reaction. That's the only point.
And
to see if you say
more information.
Right. If I say to you, Joshua, would you submit to a lie detector or a polygraph? And you would be like, yeah, sure. Or, no, I need to speak to my attorney. I was told to never do that. Then they go, aha,
oh, sure.
Even though neither answer is right or wrong.
Right.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Yeah. Okay. And it's just,
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So they question her and they question these two men.
Well, let's get back to where Branson's grandmother reports him missing. But there's the weekend.
That's the next day?
No, I think it's a couple days.
Okay.
So the police are like, what the hell? 6 days later. And it's Skidmore, Missouri. That's this big.
Sure.
So they, go look in the shed and the jumper cables are not there.
Okay.
Can't find them anywhere. They, look in rivers, gullies, they drain ponds, they look everywhere, and he is just nowhere. Okay. So it's kind of odd in small towns, the number of, so when I say we want tips and the Skidmore Police Department and the FBI want tips, I mean it. But what they want are truisms and not dumb rumors.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So there are rumors, and this is, I think, borne out to be true, that, Branson's kind of wandering in life and he had started smoking marijuana. Okay. Now there are, in 2001, terrible marijuana, gateway drug. And, right. And he may have been experimenting with like ecstasy.
Okay.
Typically not drugs. You might be dehydrated at, Burning Man, but probably not going to kill you unless you, do a lot. No one doesn't find you.
Yeah. I think especially back then they were cutting ecstasy with a lot of shit that would really mess your brain up. If you did it a bunch of times.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
I think the pot was more prevalent.
I knew some people who, did not do well.
Oh no.
Yeah. Some candy kids that, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. They did it a lot.
I don't think he had the opportunity to do it a lot. I think it was a fairly new thing. Yeah. I think the pot was probably a longer history. Yeah. So there are, a myriad of rumors. He owed a drug dealer money and they, killed him. Yeah, a drug dealer wants their money.
Yeah.
A drug dealer wants their money. They don't want to kill you.
They don't want to kill you. Yeah.
They want their money. And it's not like he's El Chapo and he owes millions of dollars to a Skidmore drug dealer. This isn't like high level shit here. Sure. This is Skidmore, Missouri.
Sure. So he smoked an eighth before he paid for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know that it's worth killing someone, but people hold grudges. I don't know.
I guess
4 days before he went missing, Branson told his father that a neighbor invited him over and spiked something, and he took his clothes off and was dancing. I don't know if it was something he agreed to take or something that was foisted on him, but he says this young neighbor sexually assaulted him. Now, there are people who say it's not actually a sexual assault, that it was just that he was impaired, but it wasn't that he didn't, I never want to doubt anyone who says that someone had sex with them against their will.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And then you get into weird things. Can you consent if you're impaired?
Right.
Like that's,
I guess there's drugs that people say enhance, sex. I don't know anything about those. So
sure. I mean,
Aleve. Why are my ankles around your ears?
Gay?
Right. Yeah. No.
You get a little,
Aleve. Yeah. I've heard. I don't know. I'm just saying Aleve might be helpful. So for people in my age group. 12 hours of relief.
Stretching and popping. And
yeah, that too.
Yeah.
I know I told you a few years ago, someone said, okay, so before we, have dinner, I'm going to need you to stretch and I need your safe word.
Yes.
And I was like,
yes.
My safe word's privilege and you can go fuck yourself sideways because that's not happening.
Oh boy.
So yeah, anyway, I think I've heard there are drugs. I don't know that he had access to those, or I don't have all the details, but they also think that maybe he was saying this to his father in a way to let him know that he was gay. And his father was like, I always assumed he was gay and that would have been fine. I wasn't angry at him or,
there wasn't a thing.
Right. I think they just hadn't had the time to talk about it, which, I get that. And even if you're gay, you don't want to be impaired and be taken advantage of it, even by someone that, is your type, but still.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's still a scary thing, especially in 2001. Even, okay, the dad knows and it would have said, okay, cool, whatever, I already knew. But if you haven't actually come out yet, I mean, there's a huge anxiety. And,
yeah. And his dad was in the hospital.
Yeah.
And, I don't know that he ever actually got to say, Dad, I'm gay.
Right.
His father said, I always assumed he was.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about it, but then he told me he was, sexually assaulted by a guy next door who gave him something.
Okay.
Right. So that person was never arrested or prosecuted. He said,
was he questioned?
Yeah.
I mean, it was okay.
He said Branson did it of his own free will and it was consensual. So,
okay. I mean,
so there's, it's a he said,
sure. And that's not the thing that we're worried about. The thing we're worried about is
where is he?
Did it go somewhere else? Yeah.
Right. Well, 4 days later, was he mad at him? Yeah. Or was he like, you can't tell people what's going on. So I'm going to make you disappear.
Right.
I don't think it was that big or bad, but that's just one theory.
Okay.
The Iowa drug dealer theory. And, there are others. Did he go away on his own? Was he experiencing some mental health issues and just left?
Just kept walking. Just
hitchhiked.
Grab the jumper cables.
I'll tell you.
Walking.
There was, now that you bring that up, which I'm glad you did, 2 weeks after the police, the family, and searchers had looked through everything, the jumper cables ended up hanging on the wall in the shed.
Wait. So they missed them the first time, or they showed up later?
How would we know?
Yeah,
many people swore they weren't there. They went looking to see if he made it to the shed. Are the jumper cables there? Did he make it to the shed? No, not there. Family, police, searchers, friends, jumper cables not in the shed. 2 weeks later, the police come back for another look around the property. Jumper cables hanging on the inside of the door in the shed.
That's suspicious.
Yes, that's just one thing. You make a great point. Could, let's say 15 people missed it?
Sure, they can. It would be harder for 15 people to miss it if they are specifically looking for it, because that was the story.
Specifically looking for it. Great point. Number two, let's say it's a shed and most people's sheds aren't organized like Monk.
Right.
If the jumper cables were just going to be tossed on a, work table or something. No. You open the door, they're hanging on the door, on the inside of the door. Yeah. It would be hard to miss that.
Huh.
All different people from all different walks of life. Not like, oh, no, they aren't there. Just one family member. No.
Yeah.
Many different people. Interesting, huh?
That's super. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if I were to go to a shed and you said, okay, go walk to the shed and look around. And then later you said, hey, did you see any jumper cables? I may or may not remember.
Right. But if
you already triggered, like, okay, I'm looking
took
for
the jumper cables. He took them and said he was going to the shed.
Oh, these
Maybe
jumper cables?
Said, yeah.
Oh, these ones that are hanging on the wall, on the door?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they ever
Fingerprint them? I don't know.
Can you fingerprint jumper cables?
I don't know, because it's like rubber or the metal.
It's not.
Yeah,
it's
maybe the metal part. Yeah, I don't know. Great
Yeah.
question. That's a great question.
Yeah.
I do not know. I don't have the answer to that.
I mean, if somebody put them back later,
2 weeks later,
I would imagine they would have wiped
them off, had time to do that.
Right.
Yeah, you know what? Very great question. Very great question. I wish I could talk to someone. I honestly do, because there's.
And then that would be suspicious too if
right.
if they found them and they were wiped down.
Right.
They found them 2 weeks later, completely clean.
Right.
Like without Branson's prints even.
So Branson's case in this small town has found its way across the country, and people all over seem to be fascinated by it. And gosh, I wonder what year. I'm trying to remember what year. He said 18 years ago. So a retired detective from New Jersey, Michael Kurtz, he was looking into Stephen Stayner's case. Do you remember the book, I Know My Name is Stephen? It was a TV movie of the week.
No.
Okay. It's too young for you. But so he's this retired detective from New Jersey. He had read the book, I Know My First Name is Stephen. And it's about Stephen Stayner, who was kidnapped when he was like 7. And when he was like 15 or 14, he broke away from the predator because there was another little boy. He had aged out. The predator was probably going to kill him. And there was another sweet little 7-year-old boy that had been abducted, and he broke them both out. Wow. And he's like, all I know is my first name is Stephen.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
And it's a well done, made for TV movie. There's a lot of information on it. Unfortunately, Stephen Stayner's brother, Cary Stayner, turned out to be a serial killer who killed some women in Yosemite. So anyway, I know everything's connected, right?
Wow.
I know. So here is, Detective Michael Kurtz reading, I Know My First Name is Stephen. So he's like, this story gave me such hope because he broke away and saved another little kid.
Right.
I went online and I was looking about details of Stephen Stayner's case. And there's all these pictures of Stephen. And at the bottom was a picture of a really light blonde-haired young man. And I became curious and I started reading Branson's story. So they attached Branson's missing photo to the story of another boy who was missing but came home.
As part of the story, or is that just like, hey, you might also,
by the way, you might
read this article.
Look at this,
okay.
like on a milk carton.
Sure. Okay.
And there are billboards. His parents have, I don't believe they're rich, and they have done everything possible. They have both since passed away, but Rebecca, his mother, again, put billboards up, gathered money, got some donations, sold a piece of property to make the reward is still in effect.
Wow. Okay.
23 years later, $20,000. So here's, Michael Kurtz, Officer Michael Kurtz. He's like, I start reading about Branson's story, and it's so compelling. I came across a comment on a Facebook profile by his aunt, and I took the risk of contacting her, and she started to give me little bits of information. Now, the Nodaway County Sheriff's Department, they're the lead, but they are absolutely not opposed to the help from Michael Kurtz.
Cool.
And you'll find out in a little bit that they actually just called in the FBI because they needed more resources. So they were like, hey, we're the lead, but anything you get, you let us know. Cool. We're happy to have you, and he is, I'm going to use this in the most positive way. He's obsessed.
Okay.
And that's what you need is an advocate or advocates, which Branson, God bless him, has a lot of people here who want justice for him. So his mother, Rebecca, had been fighting melanoma. She passed away in 2011.
Oh, I'm sorry.
His father, Bob, passed away, I think, 4 years after he went missing, neither of them knowing. But I'll tell you, the sheriff's department showed up when Rebecca was on her deathbed and held her hands and looked in her eyes and said, "We know who did this. This is what we think happened.
Okay.
And we will keep working on
this. And they
this."
just don't have enough evidence yet. Okay.
And Joshua, they are still working on it up to May 23rd of 2024.
Wow.
I'll explain that. It's just, yeah. So 2 individuals' names were questioned in 2009 because of information that Detective Kurtz had provided to the Nodaway.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good.
And there was a plot of land that was dug up because, it's like it points here. We're going to talk to these 2 people, and it points us to this, area. I think it's a little town called, Quitman, which is a tiny town not far from Skidmore, about 5 miles from Skidmore. They dug up the land and they said, we didn't find any of Branson's remains, but we could tell the earth was disturbed.
Oh.
We think there was something there before and we didn't get there in time.
And then dug up and moved.
Yep.
Oh. Okay.
So Sheriff Hahn, who is the lead detective, Austin Hahn from the Nodaway County Sheriff's Office, they were digging the 16th of May in a different area. And he said, anytime that we have a tip that comes in that we can look into it and have a chance of providing some sort of closure, that's what we all want to do.
Right.
It said he would not confirm that they were searching, where they were searching on the 16th of May, but he did say cases like Perry's are only solved through tips from the community. That's the part I love. And he said, a resolution in this case would mean a lot to the community. It's a case that a lot of people know about, a lot of people have interest in, and I think it reaches people outside of this area. And he's right. Here's Detective Michael Kurtz in New Jersey going, I think it's this. He did say the Nodaway County Sheriff's Office thinks that it is drug related.
Okay.
They're not saying whether it's like a debt or something else.
Okay.
And Detective Kurtz said, I agree with them.
All right.
I agree with the Sheriff's Department. I don't have anything new or different. Everything that I have heard, yeah.
Okay.
Right. So there are a lot of things online that are rumor mill adjacent.
Sure, of course.
I know where they were searching. There were 4 men that were involved. All of them have passed away. The last one was a little over a year ago. They shot him in the head. This had to do with a drug debt. One night before they searched in 2009, they moved the body to its current resting place. There are also apparently a lot of wells in the area.
Oh,
right. Difficult to narrow down a well.
Can you throw a body in a well and then it
probably
get away with it? I mean, is that a?
I think that's probably been done.
Okay.
I don't know if it's done in this case. This person who is like, I think he was buried here. The night before they searched, they got tipped off and they moved him. I don't know why they're digging in the same area again. My guess is they must have, got someone or something, or a clue about, DNA. So I don't know. I mean, yeah. So I'm going to read something to you that is heartbreaking, but yet beautiful. And knowing that Rebecca is no longer with us, I feel like makes it even more compelling. And it was a mother's plea, and she put it online on a blog. My name is Becky. I am the mother of Branson Perry. Branson disappeared April of 2001 from Skidmore, Missouri. According to police reports, he was last seen at approximately 3 in the afternoon. Branson is considered an endangered missing person by law enforcement. I want to tell you about the circumstances of his disappearance and the events of the investigation up to now. The circumstances were reported by the last person to have seen him. Branson's father, Bob, passed away in 2004, and he and I were divorced in November of 2000, and I was living in a small town 20 miles from Skidmore. Bob had been in the hospital and was due to come home. Branson wanted the house to be clean when his father came home, so a friend was helping him. The alternator had gone out on Bob's car prior to his hospital stay, and there were 2 men replacing it where it was parked on the street in front of the storage shed that sat on an adjacent lot to our house.
Okay.
It's still unclear to me as to who asked them to fix it, whether it was Bob or Branson. It's now come out it was Branson.
Okay.
The events of the day are fairly sketchy to me and often have made no sense. I don't have a timeline of when they occurred, only sporadic comments that were made. At one point, the friend, she keeps calling her the friend, and that's Gina, saw Branson run into the kitchen and take something out of one of the cabinets and then run to the back door. When he returned, he said he wouldn't tell her what he was doing and acted like nothing happened. Later, she said she had taken a shower after cleaning, and when she came out of the bathroom, she saw one of the men that were working on the car going through cabinets in the kitchen. She said she asked him what he was looking for, and he said nothing and went back outside. At approximately 3 p.m., she'd been upstairs when she heard the front porch door shut. She looked out the window and saw Branson. She asked him where he was going. He told her he was going to put the jumper cables back in the storage shed, and he would be back. She never saw him again. The men that had been working on the car claimed to have never seen him. No one ever saw him. The friend just thought Branson had gotten sidetracked, so she left after she finished what she was doing. Bob did not come home that day, so his mother had gone to check on Branson, and she'd heard from because she hadn't heard from him for a couple days. When she got to the house, all the doors were open, the radio was on. She went to check the next day, still nothing. She began to get concerned, started making phone calls to friends. No one had heard from him. She talked to her son, Bob, and he called me that evening. Bob got out of the hospital, and I met him at the police station to file a missing persons report. That's on Monday. So when the police came to investigate, Bob could not find anything of Branson's that was missing. Even his wallet was left behind. When they checked the shed for the jumper cables, they were not there. 2 weeks after the investigation started, they mysteriously showed up at the shed, just hanging inside the door. Several people were given lie detector tests. Some passed, some didn't. I was not given details, which I understand. Many leads came in at first. The police searched the river, farms, ponds, even wells. Nothing came up. When the leads became far and few, Bob's family even contacted a psychic. Once again, the police followed up on all leads, and nothing was found. I have never been a person to ask for much. I am asking, pleading, begging for your help in finding my son, or at least finding out what happened to him. I need for this nightmare to end. It's a roller coaster that does not ever stop. From the outside, I may appear to be fine. On the inside, I will never be okay. If you've ever lost someone who has died, then you know the feeling of complete despair. Over time, it eases and becomes bearable, because you know the cause of what happened and you've been able to put your loved one to rest. You'll always have that sense of emptiness, and at times it overcomes you, but you're able to put it in perspective again. Parents of missing children never feel that ease. It never becomes bearable, only easier to hide. 1 minute you're okay and functioning, the next minute something triggers inside and you plummet to the deepest ravine you could ever imagine, and you can't find your way out. It can be something as simple as a smell, a taste, a sound, a touch, and the horror is there again. It never ends. Please, please, please find it in your hearts to come forward if you have any information. You might think it's insignificant, but it may be the link to all the answers. You can remain anonymous if you want. I continue to pray to God that Branson is safe, that he's happy, that he'll come home, but I fear the worst has happened. I fear I will never hear my beautiful son's voice again, and I'll never see his smile. I had an individual that wrote in one of Branson's guest books that he had never heard of this case and went to college in Missouri and said he and friends now live in Skidmore and want to help to find my son. I don't want anyone to forget. It's been so long since he disappeared that I'm trying to get the information out again. And honoring, Rebecca's request, we're going to keep talking about this case. I'm not the only podcast to cover this. Mm-hmm. It's been covered a few other times. And I hope people keep talking about his case because somebody somewhere knows a lot. And on the 16th of May of 2024, the Nodaway County Sheriff's Office asked for the FBI to become involved because they have resources that the Sheriff's Department does not.
Okay.
And they spent several days digging. And unfortunately, they released a press release that said, several officials assisting agencies have concluded their investigation in the area of Quitman, Missouri, regarding a tip that they received. But no new evidence was recovered at the scene, but the Nodaway County Sheriff's Office will continue its pursuit of justice in regard to Branson Perry. The public is asked to contact Nodaway County Sheriff's Office at 660-582-7451 if there's any information on the case. And I do believe that there is more than one person that knows. So again, the Nodaway County Sheriff's Office number is 660-582-7451. There's more than one agency looking into this, and I am so impressed that this small agency is able to reach out and accept help and wants help and investigate every tip. The Captain Hahn said that the FBI was brought in because it was a tip they felt was legitimate and worth looking into, and they just didn't have the resources. So the fact that they called in the FBI, I have such respect for this agency. And I also want to say again that the suicide prevention hotline, you can call or text from your cell phone, 988. There's also a resource hotline of 866-615-6464. And if you have any information on a case, if you would like us to cover a case, if you have a tip on a missing person or unsolved homicide, please give us a call at 832-Tipster. That's 832-847-7837. You can always email us at jttipsters@gmail.com. You can find us on any of the social media platforms at the JT Tipsters Facebook page, at JT Tipsters on Instagram, at JT Tipsters Pod on Twitter, and more cowbell.
If you would like to support this podcast and get early access and other cool murderous swag, go to patreon.com/justthetipsters.